The emergency alarm screamed through the veterinary clinic at exactly 11:47 p.m. Hana looked up from her computer screen, her tired eyes suddenly alert. She had been working late again, finishing patient reports that she never seemed to have time for during the day. The clinic was supposed to be quiet at this hour. The alarm meant something bad had happened. She ran toward the emergency entrance, her shoes squeaking on the polished metal floor of Station Zenith 9. The station was a massive medical facility floating in space, serving creatures from 27 different star systems. Hana was one of only 7 humans who worked here among thousands of aliens. Sometimes she felt very small in this place. The doors burst open before she reached them. A tall alien stumbled through, carrying something in his forearms. The alien was a Lithian named Vok. His skin was pale blue and covered in scales that shimmered under the harsh clinic lights. But Hana barely noticed him. Her attention locked onto the creature he carried. It was Shimmer, Vok's companion animal. Hana had seen her before during routine checkups. Shimmer looked like a large cat mixed with something else entirely alien. She had 8 limbs and fur that glowed with its own light. The fur changed colors based on how Shimmer felt. Right now that fur was dark red, almost black. Hana's heart sank. Dark red meant terrible pain and fear. Shimmer was shaking violently. White foam bubbled from the breathing holes along her neck. Her eyes rolled back, showing only white. Vok was making a high-pitched keening sound that Hana recognized as Lithian crying. "Help her." Vok's voice came out in broken standard, the common language most species used. "Please, you must help her." "Put her on the table," Hana said calmly, though her pulse was racing. "Tay, I need you." Tay appeared from the supply room within seconds. He was Hana's assistant, a young man who understood animals the way some people understood machines. He took one look at Shimmer and immediately started pulling out equipment. The emergency call had also reached Dr. Krell, the head veterinarian. He arrived moments later, his tall body filling the doorway. Dr. Krell was a Vraxian with hard plates covering his body like armor. Multiple eye sensors dotted his head, all of them focusing on Shimmer at once. He moved Hana aside with one gesture. "What happened?" Dr. Krell's voice was cold and professional. Vok struggled to speak through his grief. "Environmental system. My ship, it malfunctioned. Released toxins. I found her like this." Dr. Krell ran a scanner over Shimmer's convulsing body. The device beeped and displayed results in symbols Hana had learned to read. Toxin poisoning. Severe organ damage. Cascading system failures. Standard anti-toxin protocol, Dr. Krell ordered. Tay already had the injection ready. They administered it directly into Shimmer's bloodstream. For a moment, everyone waited. The seconds stretched out like hours. But Shimmer only shook harder. Her glowing fur flickered, growing dimmer. "Protocol 2, Dr. Krell said, his voice tighter now. They tried a different antitoxin, then a third. Each time, Shimmer's condition worsened instead of improving. The organs were shutting down one after another. Her breathing became shallow and rapid. The light in her fur was almost completely gone now. Dr. Krell ran one final scan. He studied the results for a long moment. Then he straightened up and turned to Vok. "The damage is irreversible," he said. "Her organs are failing. The toxin has progressed too far. I am sorry, but the most humane option is euthanasia. We can end her suffering peacefully." Vok made a sound like something breaking. He collapsed to his knees beside the treatment table. His 4 hands reached for Shimmer but stopped short, as if he was afraid touching her would make things worse. Hana watched Dr. Krell prepare the euthanasia injection. She had seen this before. Sometimes there was nothing you could do. Sometimes the kindest thing was to let go, but something nagged at her. Something felt wrong. She moved closer to the table and looked at Shimmer. Really looked. Yes, the creature was dying. Yes, the toxins had done terrible damage. But there was something else happening here. Something the scanners were not showing. Hana had grown up around animals on Earth. She had volunteered at wildlife rescue centers since she was 15. She had seen creatures who gave up, who stopped fighting not because their bodies were broken, but because their spirits were. She had seen the way fear could kill as surely as any poison. Shimmer was not just poisoned. She was terrified. Without asking permission, Hana knelt beside the table. She slowly reached out and placed both of her hands on Shimmer's trembling body. The fur was soft under her palms, and she could feel the rapid hammering of multiple hearts beneath. "It's okay, buddy," Hana whispered. She kept her voice low and gentle. You're not alone. I'm right here. It's going to be okay. She did not know if Shimmer could understand her words, but tone mattered. Intent mattered. She had learned that long ago. Animals could sense when someone cared, when someone was trying to help rather than hurt. What are you doing? Dr. Krell asked, but his hand had paused on the injection. Hana did not answer. She kept her focus on Shimmer, kept her hands gentle but firm on the creature's body. She maintained contact, letting Shimmer know that someone was there, that she was not alone in her fear and pain. Something changed. The violent convulsions began to slow, not stop but slow. The rhythm became less chaotic. Shimmer's breathing, which had been rapid gasps, deepened slightly, and in one small patch of fur near where Hana's hand rested, a tiny flicker of blue light appeared. Blue. Hana remembered from her training. Blue meant hope for Lithian species. Dr. Krell's eye sensors all focused on that spot of blue. He looked at his scanner. The readings had changed. Just slightly, but they had changed. Shimmer's vital signs were stabilizing. Not recovering, not yet, but no longer in free fall. Impossible, Dr. Krell muttered. Give me 10 minutes, Hana said quietly. Just 10 minutes, please. Tay was already moving. He pulled up data on his tablet, searching through databases of Earth veterinary medicine. He had worked with Hana long enough to know what she was thinking. This was not just poison. This was trauma. This was a stress response amplifying the toxin's effects. Dr. Krell stood frozen, the euthanasia injection still in his hand. He looked from Shimmer to his scanner to Hana. Finally, he set the injection down. 10 minutes, he said. But if she deteriorates further, we end this. Hana nodded. She never took her hands off Shimmer. She kept talking, kept maintaining that gentle contact. And slowly, minute by minute, more blue light spread through Shimmer's fur. The creature was fighting back. She just needed someone to fight beside her. Vok watched with all four hands pressed to his face, hope and fear warring in his expression. The monitors continued to beep, showing vital signs that were still critical but no longer falling. The 10 minutes began. The 10 minutes turned into an hour, then 2 hours, then the whole night. Hana never left Shimmer's side. She kept her hands on the creature's body, feeling every breath, every heartbeat. She talked constantly in that same gentle voice, telling stories about Earth animals she had helped, about sunsets and oceans, and things that had nothing to do with medical procedures. It did not matter what she said. What mattered was the sound of a calm, caring voice in the darkness. Tay worked beside her, running tests and administering treatments that Hana requested. But these were different from what Dr. Krell had tried. Hana was not just fighting the toxin, she was fighting the fear. Her stress hormones are off the charts, Tay said quietly, reading the scanner. Even higher than the toxin levels would explain. Exactly, Hana murmured. She gently stroked Shimmer's fur, which was now glowing a soft blue mixed with the dark red. She is not just sick. She is terrified. And that terror is killing her as much as the poison. Dr. Krell stood at the monitoring station watching everything. He had dismissed his other staff hours ago. Now it was just the four of them in the intensive care unit. Hana, Tay, Dr. Krell, and Shimmer. Fox sat in the corner, his blue face wet with tears, afraid to hope but unable to look away. This should not be working, Dr. Krell said, but there was less certainty in his voice now. According to all our data on Lithian physiology, this should not be working. Maybe the data is incomplete, Hana suggested. She did not look up from Shimmer. On Earth, we have seen this before. Social animals, bonded animals. They can die from stress even when their bodies should survive. We call it broken heart syndrome, separation anxiety, fear-induced cascade failure. Those are Earth conditions, Dr. Krell objected. This is a Lithian. Pain is pain, Hana said simply. Fear is fear. Maybe it looks different in different species, but the root is the same. Shimmer was poisoned, yes, but she was also alone, scared in terrible pain, surrounded by strangers doing things she did not understand. Her body panicked. It shut down. Tay pulled up information on his tablet. I have been looking through the galactic medical databases. There are hundreds of cases like this across different species. Unexplained deaths where the physical cause was not enough to explain the outcome. They all happened during stressful medical procedures, when the patients were alone. Dr. Krell moved closer to look at the data. His eye sensors scanned the information rapidly. Hana could see him processing, reconsidering. For someone who had practiced medicine for 50 years, changing your mind was not easy. But the evidence was right in front of him. "We treat the body," Dr. Krell said slowly. "We have always treated the body. Medicines, surgeries, chemical interventions. We thought that was enough." "It is not enough," Hannah said. "Not for creatures who feel. Not for beings who bond and love and fear. You need to heal the whole patient, not just their organs." As if to prove her point, Shimmer's fur brightened. More blue appeared, spreading like dawn across her body. Her breathing steadied. The monitors showed improving numbers. It was slow, incredibly slow, but it was real progress. "Where did you learn this?" Dr. Krell asked. Hannah smiled slightly, still focused on Shimmer. "From a dog named Lucky. I was 16. I volunteered at an animal shelter on Earth. Lucky had been abused, beaten, starved. We treated his wounds, fed him, gave him medicine. But he was dying anyway. Just giving up. Then one day I sat with him. Just sat there for hours talking to him, petting him. And he decided to live." She paused, remembering. "After that I saw it again and again. Animals who needed more than medicine. They needed to know someone cared. That they were not alone. That they were worth saving. Humans bond with other species," Tay added. "It is what we do. We have domesticated dozens of animals on Earth. We have formed relationships with wild creatures, dolphins, elephants, birds. We learn to understand them not just as biological machines, but as beings with emotions." Dr. Krell was quiet for a long time. Outside the intensive care unit, other medical staff had gathered. Word had spread through the station. The human veterinarian was doing something impossible. Some watched with skepticism, others with curiosity. All of them waited to see what would happen. By the time the station's artificial sun began to simulate morning, Shimmer was stable. Not healthy yet, but stable. Her fur glowed a steady cyan blue, occasionally flickering with bits of gold. Hannah had learned that gold meant contentment. "You can come closer now," Hannah told Vok gently. The Lithian trader approached slowly, as if afraid this was a dream that might break. He reached out one shaking hand and touched Shimmer's head. The creature's eyes opened. They were clear and aware. She made a sound, a soft chirping purr that Hannah had not heard before. "Shimmer," Vok whispered. "My Shimmer." The creature's fur blazed bright gold. She tried to lift her head, still weak but fighting to reach her bonded companion. Vok gathered her close, all four arms wrapping around her, and Shimmer curled into him like a child seeking comfort. Hannah finally stepped back. Her legs were shaky from kneeling for so long. Tay caught her elbow, steadying her. She was exhausted, her back ached, her hands were numb. But she was smiling. Dr. Krell approached her. He stood there for a moment, his alien face unreadable to someone who did not know his species. Then he did something Hannah had never seen him do before. He bowed, a gesture of respect among Vraxians. "I have been practicing medicine for 50 years, he said. "I thought I knew everything important. I was wrong. You saw something I missed, something our entire medical system has been missing. I just did what needed doing," Hannah said. "No," Dr. Krell said firmly. "You did something revolutionary, whether you realize it or not. But the revolution was only beginning." Within hours, the station administrator called an emergency meeting. Some staff were excited about Hannah's success. Others were worried. Change always worried people, especially in a place as big and complicated as a medical station. Director Vex, a stern Korthan who ran the station with rigid efficiency, sat behind his desk and studied Hannah with cold eyes. "You deviated from standard protocols," he said. "Dr. Krell recommended euthanasia. You countermanded that recommendation without authorization." "I saved a life," Hannah replied calmly. "This time," Director Vex said. "But what about next time? What if your methods fail? What if you cause suffering by prolonging the inevitable?" Before Hannah could answer, Dr. Krell spoke up. "I have submitted a full report. The data supports her methods. We should be studying this, not punishing it." Director Vex was not pleased, but he could not argue with Dr. Krell's standing in the medical community. He dismissed them with a warning. One success did not prove anything. Hannah would need to show that her approach worked consistently. As they left the office, Tay looked worried. "That sounded like a threat." "It was," Hannah agreed. "But we did the right thing. That is what matters." She did not know it yet, but her words were about to be tested in ways she could not imagine. The challenge was coming, and it would determine not just her career, but the future of how the galaxy treated its most vulnerable creatures. 5 weeks passed. Hana's clinic became busier than ever before. Patients from across the station requested her specifically. Word had spread about the human who could heal creatures that others had given up on. But not everyone was happy about this. Dr. Nex was one of those people. She was a Thalorian, tall and thin with silver skin that reflected light like a mirror. She had been practicing veterinary medicine for 70 years and had written textbooks that every student studied. When she walked into a room, everyone paid attention. She had come to Zenith 9 specifically to challenge Hana. The meeting was held in the station's main conference hall. Representatives from the Galactic Veterinary Board sat at a long table. Hana stood in the center of the room with Tay beside her. Dr. Krell sat in the audience, his expression worried. "Your methods are dangerous," Dr. Nex began without preamble. Her voice was sharp and clear. "You rely on intuition and emotion rather than proven science. You got lucky once with that Lithian creature, but luck is not medicine." "I did not get lucky," Hana said calmly. "I recognized a pattern. I treated the whole patient, not just the symptoms." "Patterns," Dr. Nex said mockingly. "Based on what? Your feelings? We have databases with millions of cases. We have protocols developed over centuries. And you think you can ignore all of that because you have a hunch?" "I think your databases are missing something important," Hana replied. "They record physical symptoms and chemical treatments. But they do not record fear, loneliness, grief. Those things are real. They affect health. Ignoring them is the real danger." The board members murmured among themselves. Some seemed interested, others looked skeptical. Director Vex sat at the center of the table, his face unreadable. "Doctor," Nex smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "Then prove it. I have a patient, a Corvin named Void. He has been dying for 6 weeks despite every treatment we have tried. Every scan shows he is physically healthy, yet he deteriorates daily. If your methods work, cure him." "And if I cannot?" Hana asked. "Then you will be barred from practicing xenomedicine in any facility under Galactic Veterinary Board jurisdiction," Dr. Nex said. "No more experiments. No more risks with patient lives." The room went silent. That was basically a career death sentence. Without board certification, Hana could not work anywhere in the outer systems. She would have to return to Earth. Tay grabbed her arm. "You don't have to accept this," he whispered urgently. But Hana was already nodding. "How long do I have?" 72 hours, Dr. Nex said. "Starting now." Hana met Void an hour later. He was in an isolated treatment room, lying on a padded platform designed for large creatures. And he was large. Void stood as tall as a horse and looked like someone had mixed a bear with a panther. His fur was midnight black and absorbed light instead of reflecting it. His eyes were silver, intelligent, and infinitely sad. Ambassador Ray, Void's owner, sat beside him. She was a Corvin diplomat, elegant and composed in her formal robes. But Hana could see the grief in her eyes, the way her hands shook slightly when she touched Void's head. "He has been with my family for 4 generations, Ambassador Ray said quietly. "He was my grandmother's guardian, then my mother's, then mine, and he was supposed to be my daughter's." The way she said, "was supposed to be," made Hana look up sharply. "Your daughter?" Ambassador Ray's composure cracked slightly. "She died 4 months ago. A shuttle accident. Void was with her. He saw everything. And there it was. The missing piece." Hana knelt beside Void and looked into those silver eyes. She saw what Dr. Nex's scanners could never detect. Void was not sick. He was grieving. "Has anyone talked to him about it?" Hana asked gently. "About her death?" Ambassador Ray looked confused. "Talked to him? He is an animal." "He is a being who loved your daughter," Hana corrected softly. "And who lost her. Have you mourned with him? Shared your grief?" The ambassador's silver skin seemed to pale. "In Corvin culture, we do not display weakness. Grief is private. We endure." And Void has been enduring alone, Hana said. Watching you hide your pain while he drowns in his own. He does not understand why you have pulled away. He thinks he did something wrong. Or worse, he thinks you do not care. Ambassador Ray made a sound like a sob caught in her throat. She pressed one hand to her mouth. Void's eyes moved to her, and Hana saw recognition there. Love. And such deep sadness. Hana spent the next several hours reviewing every piece of medical data Dr. Nex had collected. Tay helped her, cross-referencing information with Earth studies on grief and animal psychology. The evidence was clear. Void's body was shutting down not from disease but from heartbreak. This is going to sound crazy, Tay said as they worked. Most good ideas do it first, Hana replied. Dr. Krell found them in the research library at midnight. You should be resting. Cannot rest, Hana said. Only 60 hours left. Dr. Krell sat down heavily. I have been researching too, looking through cases that puzzled me over the years. Patients who died when they should have lived. Patients who lived when they should have died. And I keep finding the same pattern. The ones who had someone with them, someone who cared, they did better. I just never saw it before. Because you were looking at bodies, not beings, Hana said gently. Yes, Dr. Krell admitted. And now I cannot unsee it. You have changed how I practice medicine, Hana. Whether you win this challenge or not. The next morning, Hana returned to Ambassador Ray with her plan. It was unconventional. It was risky. It went against everything the Galactic Veterinary Board considered proper medicine. I cannot give Void medicine to fix this, Hana explained, because his problem is not chemical. It is emotional. He needs to grieve properly, and he needs you to grieve with him. I do not understand, Ambassador Ray said. I need you to take 3 days away from your duties. 3 days to sit with Void and talk to him about your daughter, share memories, cry if you need to. Let him know that you miss her too, that you are both in pain together. That is not medicine, Ambassador Ray said uncertainly. It is the most important medicine there is, Hana replied. Trust me. Please. Ambassador Ray looked at Void, who had not moved in days. She thought about her daughter, about all the grief she had locked away to maintain her diplomatic composure. She thought about being strong versus being honest. If this is what he needs, she finally said, then I will do it. Hana secured permission to use the station's arboretum, a large garden space filled with plants from multiple worlds. She set up a quiet area with comfortable cushions and soft lighting. She had Ambassador Ray bring her daughter's belongings, photos, favorite items, things that held memories. As the 72-hour deadline began counting down, Hana led Ambassador Ray and Void into the arboretum. She closed the doors behind them, giving them privacy. Then she sat outside with Tay and Dr. Krell to wait. This is either going to work, Tay said nervously, or we are all going to be looking for new jobs. Hana just watched through the transparent dome as Ambassador Ray knelt beside Void and, for the first time in months, let herself truly feel her grief. The healing had begun. For the first 12 hours, nothing seemed to change. Hana watched through the arboretum's transparent walls as Ambassador Ray sat stiffly beside Void. The diplomat held herself with perfect posture, her face carefully neutral. Void lay motionless on the soft grass, his massive body unmoving except for the slow rise and fall of breathing. Tay monitored Void's vital signs remotely. No change, he reported quietly. Heart rate still low. Neural activity minimal. Give it time, Hana said, though worry gnawed at her. She had 60 hours left. Dr. Krell had joined them outside the arboretum. A crowd had gathered as word spread through the station. Some watched with interest, others with skepticism. Dr. Nex stood at the front of the crowd, her silver face reflecting the arboretum lights. She looked confident that Hana would fail. At hour 15, something shifted. Ambassador Ray picked up a small object from the collection Hana had asked her to bring. It was a toy worn smooth from years of handling. The ambassador stared at it for a long moment. Then slowly she began to speak. Hana could not hear the words through the walls, but she could see the change in the ambassador's posture. The rigid control was cracking. Ambassador Ray talked to Void about her daughter, about the first time they met, when the child was only 3 years old and Void was already ancient. About how her daughter used to ride on his back. About the games they played. About the promises made that would never be kept. And as she talked, something remarkable happened. Void's head moved. Just slightly, but it moved. His silver eyes, which had been dull and distant, focused on Ambassador Ray's face. Heart rate increasing, Tay said, watching his monitors, neural activity rising. "He is responding," the crowd outside murmured. Even Dr. Nex leaned forward, her skeptical expression faltering slightly. But Hana knew this was just the beginning. Void had been drowning in grief for months. One conversation would not be enough. This would take time, patience, and the courage to face pain instead of running from it. Over the next day, Ambassador Ray slowly opened up. Hana had coached her on what to do: speak from the heart, acknowledge the pain, share the memories, both happy and sad. Do not pretend everything is fine. Let Void see her grief. It went against everything Ambassador Ray had been taught. Corvins did not show weakness. They endured silently. But for Void, she told stories. She cried. She held Void's massive head in her lap and whispered all the things she had never said out loud. How much it hurt, how unfair it was, how she missed her daughter every single day. And Void slowly began to respond. His breathing deepened. His eyes brightened. He pressed his head against Ambassador Ray's chest in a gesture that Hana learned was how Corvins showed affection. "This is incredible," Dr. Krell murmured, watching the data. "His body is healing itself. The stress hormones are normalizing. His organs are functioning better. And we have given him no medicine at all." "Because he did not need medicine," Hana said softly. "He needed to know he was not alone in his pain." At hour 30, Void stood for the first time in weeks. It was shaky, uncertain, but he stood. He walked a few steps with Ambassador Ray supporting him. Then a few more. At hour 40, he ate, just a small amount, but enough to show his body was ready to live again. The crowd outside had grown larger. Some had brought chairs and were settling in to watch. This had become more than just a challenge. It had become proof of something many had never considered: that emotional pain could be as deadly as any disease, and emotional healing could be as powerful as any medicine. But not everyone was convinced. Dr. Nex approached Hana at hour 50. "He is improving," Dr. Nex admitted grudgingly, "but improvement is not recovery. The board requires full health. Complete resolution. You have 22 hours left." "Then we have 22 hours," Hana replied calmly. Inside the Arboretum, Ambassador Ray had brought out her daughter's favorite music. It played softly through speakers Hana had installed. The Ambassador and Void sat together by a small fountain listening. The Ambassador's hand rested on Void's back. They did not speak. They did not need to. They were simply present together in their shared grief. Hana understood something that many others did not. Grief was not something to be cured or fixed. It was something to be experienced, acknowledged, carried. You did not heal by forgetting or by pushing the pain away. You healed by facing it, by sharing it, by letting it transform you. At hour 65, with only 7 hours remaining, Void did something extraordinary. He stood fully on all 4 legs, steady and strong. He walked to the center of the Arboretum where the plants were thickest. Then he threw back his head and made a sound that echoed through the entire space. It was a howl, deep and mournful and beautiful. It was the sound of grief being released, of pain being acknowledged, of a being who had been silent for too long finally finding his voice. Ambassador Ray stood and walked to him. She wrapped her arms around his massive neck and howled with him. The sound of a mother mourning her child. The sound of loss and love intertwined. Outside the Arboretum, the crowd fell silent. Some of the watchers looked away, uncomfortable with such raw emotion. Others found tears running down their own faces, moved by something they did not fully understand. When the howling finally stopped, Ambassador Ray and Void stood together in the silence. Then Void did something he had not done since the day of the accident. He performed the Corvin bonding ritual. Pressing his forehead to the ambassador's chest, his eyes closed, his breathing synchronized with hers. The gesture meant, "I carry this burden with you. Your pain is my pain. Your loss is my loss. We endure together." Ambassador Ray broke. The composure she had maintained for months shattered. She collapsed against Void's solid warmth and sobbed like a child. All the grief she had locked away came pouring out. And Void held her up, his strength returning as hers temporarily failed. "All vitals normal," Tay said, his voice thick with emotion. "Neural activity optimal. Hormone levels balanced. He is completely healthy." Dr. Krell ran his own scans to confirm. The data was undeniable. Void had recovered fully, not through medicine or surgery or any technical intervention, through the simple act of shared grief and mutual support. At hour 71, 1 hour before the deadline, Hana opened the Arboretum doors. Ambassador Ray and Void emerged together. The ambassador's face was red from crying. Her elegant robes rumpled, but she stood tall and there was peace in her eyes that had not been there before. Void walked beside her, strong and alert. His midnight fur seemed to absorb the station's artificial light, making him look like a piece of living shadow, but his silver eyes were bright and clear, full of life and love. The crowd parted for them. Dr. Nex approached with her scanner, needing to verify what her eyes were already showing her. She ran multiple tests. Each one came back the same: perfect health. "This is impossible," Dr. Nex whispered, but the evidence was standing right in front of her. Ambassador Ray walked up to Hana. Without a word, she placed her hand over her heart and bowed deeply, the highest gesture of respect in Corvan culture. "You did not just save his life," the ambassador said quietly. "You saved mine too. You gave us both permission to grieve, to feel, to heal together. That is a gift beyond measure." Void approached Hana and pressed his forehead gently against her chest, offering her the same bonding gesture he had given his ambassador. Hana placed her hands on his head and felt the steady beat of his heart, strong and true. "You are welcome, buddy," she whispered. "Both of you." The challenge was over. Hana had won, but more importantly, two beings had found their way back to life through the simple courage to face their pain together. That, Hana thought, was the real victory. 3 months later, the Grand Assembly Hall of Station Zenith 9 was filled to capacity. Representatives from the Galactic Veterinary Board occupied the front rows. Medical professionals from 15 different star systems had traveled to attend this historic session. The crowd was a mixture of species, sizes, and colors, all gathered to witness something unprecedented. Hana stood at the center podium, with Tay beside her and Dr. Krell standing slightly behind in a position of support. She felt the weight of thousands of eyes on her. Some friendly, some skeptical, all waiting to hear what she had to say. She had spent the past 3 months collecting data, documenting cases, building an argument. Now it was time to present it. "For centuries, galactic medicine has focused on the body," Hana began, her voice steady and clear. "We treat organs, we cure diseases, we fix injuries, and we have become very good at it. But we have missed something crucial. We have ignored the mind, the heart, the spirit." She brought up a holographic display showing graphs and statistics. "In the 3 months since Void's recovery, we have implemented psychological care protocols in 23 cases across this station. These were all patients who were failing conventional treatment. Patients who were dying despite our best medical efforts. The numbers appeared in the air. Recovery rates up by 34%. Unnecessary deaths down by 47%. Patient satisfaction improved across every measured category. This is not magic," Hana continued. "This is not luck. This is science. The science of recognizing that emotional health and physical health are connected. That fear can kill. That loneliness can poison. That love can heal." Murmurs ran through the crowd. Some nodded in agreement. Others looked doubtful. Then Dr. Nex stood up. The hall fell silent. Everyone knew about the challenge, about how certain she had been that Hana would fail. What would she say now? Dr. Nex walked to the front of the hall. She looked older than she had 3 months ago, as if the experience had changed her. "I was wrong," she said simply. Those 3 words hung in the air. "I have practiced medicine for 70 years. I thought I knew everything worth knowing. I dismissed this human's methods as primitive emotion over proper science. But I was the one being primitive. I was the one refusing to see the complete picture." She turned to face Hana directly. "After Void's recovery, I tried your approach on a case I had given up on. A patient I was preparing to euthanize, and it worked. The patient recovered. I have now used these methods successfully 12 times. Each time I see what I was missing before, the fear in their eyes, the loneliness, the need for connection and comfort." Dr. Nex bowed her head. "I formally endorse the integration of psychological care into xenomedicine, and I publicly apologize for my skepticism." Sometimes the most advanced civilizations need to learn from those they underestimate. The hall erupted in discussion. Some cheered, others argued, but the tone had shifted. This was no longer about whether Hana's methods worked. It was about how to implement them properly. Ambassador Ray stood next with Void beside her. The massive Corvan creature was healthy and strong, his silver eyes bright and alert. His presence spoke louder than any data could. "I am a diplomat," Ambassador Ray said. "I negotiate treaties between worlds. I speak before councils. But I have never delivered a more important speech than this one." Hana did not just save Void's life. She taught me that strength is not the absence of emotion. Real strength is the courage to feel, to grieve, to heal. She placed her hand on Void's head. Any medical system that treats living beings as mere biological machines is incomplete. Any science that ignores the soul while claiming to heal the body is fundamentally broken. We must do better. The Galactic Veterinary Board called for a formal vote. After hours of debate, they reached a decision. They would establish a new specialty: integrated xenopsychological medicine. This field would study and practice the combination of physical treatment with emotional and psychological care. Hana was appointed to lead the program's development. Dr. Krell was named co-director. Together they would create training standards, establish certification requirements, and teach others this new approach to medicine. Station Zenith 9 would become the first center of excellence for this new field. Applications for training positions flooded in from across the galaxy. Species that had once dismissed human medicine now competed for spots in Hana's classes. In a private moment after the vote, Dr. Krell found Hana in the Arboretum. She was sitting by the same fountain where Ambassador Ray and Void had healed together. "I never thought I would become a student again at my age," Dr. Krell said, settling his massive form onto a bench designed for multiple species. "But you have shown me how much I still have to learn." "We are all still learning," Hana replied. "That is the point. Medicine is not static. It grows, it changes. It improves when we remain open to new ideas." Dr. Krell was quiet for a moment. "May I ask you something? Why do humans understand this so naturally? This connection between species, this emotional intelligence, where does it come from?" Hana thought about her answer carefully. Earth has incredible diversity. Millions of species living in complex ecosystems. Humans learned to bond with many of them. We domesticated dogs and cats and horses. We studied elephants and dolphins and primates. We learned that intelligence and emotion come in countless forms, that each species experiences the world differently but shares the same fundamental needs for safety, connection, and love. She smiled slightly. Maybe that is humanity's real gift to the galaxy, not our technology or our strength, but our experience in bridging the gap between different kinds of minds, our practice in seeing the person inside the alien form. The weeks that followed were busy. Hana worked with Tay and Dr. Krell to design the first curriculum. They taught classes to the initial group of students, 15 medical professionals from 12 different species. The classes covered anatomy and physiology, yes, but also grief counseling and trauma response, how to recognize fear, how to provide comfort across species boundaries, how to treat the whole being. Shimmer visited regularly, her bioluminescent fur now a permanent soft cyan. Occasionally it would flash gold when she saw Hana, a display of joy and affection. She had become something of a mascot for the program, proof that psychological care worked. Void and Ambassador Ray stopped by weekly. Both continued to thrive. The ambassador had changed her diplomatic approach, becoming an advocate for emotional honesty and vulnerability in negotiations. She said that learning to grieve properly had made her better at her job, not worse. One evening, 6 months after everything began, Tay knocked on Hana's office door. He held a data pad. "New case just came in," he said. "Patient has been declining for 3 weeks. All physical tests normal. 7 different doctors have tried everything. They are calling her hopeless." Hana took the pad and reviewed the information. She recognized the pattern immediately. Not a physical illness. An emotional one. She had seen it so many times now. "Scheduled a patient for tomorrow morning," she said, "and let's find out what they really need." As Ty left, Hana stood by her window and looked out at the vast expanse of space beyond the station. Thousands of stars, countless worlds, so many different forms of life, all trying to survive, all seeking connection and meaning. The galaxy was full of advanced technology, incredible science, amazing achievements. But sometimes the most powerful medicine was the simplest: a gentle touch, a kind word, the willingness to sit with someone in their pain and say, "You are not alone." That was what Hannah had learned from Lucky the dog all those years ago on Earth. That was what she had brought to the stars. And now, slowly but surely, the galaxy was learning it too. Behind her, Dr. Krell entered the office. "Ready for tomorrow's lecture?" "Always," Hannah said, turning from the window with a smile. Together, they headed toward the teaching lab, where a new generation of medical professionals waited to learn that the most advanced medicine in the universe was built on the oldest foundation of all: compassion. The future of healing had arrived, and it spoke with a gentle voice that whispered to frightened creatures across the galaxy, "It's okay, buddy. You're not alone."